Hello, how are you? Welcome to the channel Forging Real People. Being calm is an essential characteristic if you want to act in the right way when adversity appears in your life or even when you are walking towards your goals. After all, calm should not be used for moments of pressure or possible stress only, but also for situations where you are anxious and wanting too much to get where you want to go. And why is being calm important? Because you will control your emotions enough so that you can have a rationality clean and effective enough to go through the path of success. However, another point that is connected to calm is silence. A situation that proves this is when you are anxious to tell someone about your plan and go there and spill it all out in a conversation with a friend, for example. But, if you were calm, you would know that it was not appropriate to go around talking about your plans, and with that you would be able to keep silent. So these two characteristics are useful in a way, and that is what I will explore in this video. So, let's get down to business. Before starting, leave that like to strengthen the work done here, and if you are not subscribed, sign up there. Let's go to the video. First of all, Thomas Shelby knows very well that this kind of attitude, which is going around speaking your mind when your emotions are running high, is a fatal mistake. Note that some meetings he has with his opponents, he is always quieter, being the one who speaks the least. For Thomas this is very important, or his dialogue has the same length as the opponent's, or he will take the conversation in a way that will make his enemy to speak more than him. Because it is very simple why he does that. Who talks more is the one who gives the most. That is, when he plans that his opponent talks more than him, he is just plotting a situation that makes him your enemy, throws more information and even shows his real intentions. Instead of him doing that, the one who talks more is more likely to slip up and throw some information that he shouldn't, due to the heat of the moment, or even at the time of anger show his real intentions by dropping his mask. And when the opponent makes that mistake, Thomas takes advantage. For those who have already seen the series, there is a phrase that Thomas says in the first season that completes precisely what I mentioned, which is never see a trade at a disadvantage. So this advantage that Thomas seeks to have, which is that he talks less, provokes the enemy and lets him surrender in the middle of the speech. That's why you must learn to be calm and silent. Just with the situation of the protagonist of the series, I already gave you two reasons for this. First, your opponent can use the Thomas tactic to want to provoke you or instigate you without realizing it to say something you shouldn't or give away your game. Second, if you remain calm and manage to be more silent, you will be able to dominate the conversation and be the one who takes advantage of the conversation and not the one who gives in and regrets what he said. Has this ever happened to you? I'm sure already. In a conversation, you said more than you should, and then it might even have been at the time or later you were reflecting on what you said, and then you regret having opened your mouth. You didn't realize it, but you just said more than necessary, because you let emotion take you, and by allowing it you let your rationality escape and made a mistake. So this advantage that Thomas seeks to have, which is that he talks less, provokes the enemy and lets him surrender in the middle of the speech, that's why you must learn to be calm and silent. Just with the situation of the protagonist of the series, I already gave you two reasons for this. First, your opponent can use the Thomas tactic to want to provoke you or instigate you without realizing it to say something you shouldn't or give away your game. Second, if you remain calm and manage to be more silent, you will be able to dominate the conversation and be the one who takes advantage of the conversation and not the one who gives in and regrets what he said. Has this ever happened to you? I'm sure already. In a conversation, you said more than you should, and then it might even have been at the time or later you were reflecting on what you said, and then you regret having opened your mouth. You didn't realize it, but you just said more than necessary, because you let emotion take you, and by allowing it you let your rationality escape and made a mistake. So it is necessary to notice this and realize when the emotion is higher, the voice in your head that tells you to say something, close your mouth as much as possible, or rather you have to be the one who will ask the other person about something and not let the person interrogates you. Then you ask me, Forging people, but how can you calm down if this life is a sea of pressure? Next, I already commented on this in this video and maybe you didn't pay attention. Every emotion starts from a thought in your mind. You just have to choose whether you will control it and kill that thought, that is, not think about it anymore, or you will reflect until you realize that you fed this idea full of emotions to the point of losing control of your mental situation. If you don't believe what I'm saying, think about the following. Love, for example. You're there thinking you're the coldest guy in the world, and out of nowhere you come across an extremely beautiful woman from another world with a beautiful smile and so on. If you just walk past her and continue on your way, soon that thought you created upon seeing her will disappear from your mind and you will probably forget about her. However, if by any chance you talk to her, go on a date, and well, you already understand how far I want to go. If all this happens, you will be more and more in love, because you will be thinking and thinking about her all the time. The same thing happens with anger. If a situation arises in your mind that I don't know, the teacher will give you 0 on the test and you keep feeding it and don't stop reflecting instead of putting the ball forward, you'll get more and more angrier, and logically it will take time for him to calm down again. Soon, as I said, if you stop listening to that voice in your mind and put the thought away from your central say, you will not feed this idea loaded with emotions and your calm will remain constant. So the first step is usually not keep feeding that thought that carries emotions. And why do I say generally? Because let's face it, sometimes it's good to have fun and let the emotion flow in your body and mind. After all, we are not made just to be rational, but when you realize that emotion will make you disturbed, take this attitude and do not feed anything. This is noticeable in some attitudes in Thomas Shelby, for example. Of course, you can't know what's going on in his mind, but you can see that there are times when a character asks him and instead of feeding that question with an answer, he changes the subject or reciprocates with another question to avoid answering. Analyzing these attitudes of his, it is possible to conclude that Thomas also avoids feeding this emotion-laden thought when these are harmful to him, as conversation is a way of feeding these ideas. After all, if you're talking about that, obviously it gives room for emotion to multiply. The other tip I give to be calmer is to find activities that just make you more in control, like reading, or exercising, or even meditation, that are said to calm you down a lot. I actually read a lot. This calms me down a lot and at the same time brings me knowledge that becomes an advantage, but that depends on each one. But be careful to find an activity that calms you down and gives you only advantages, because sometimes you find something that will calm you down but that in the end truth will hurt you. Then pay attention to this. And the question of being silent. Silence enters in a strategic way as a complement to calm. As I commented at the beginning of the video, if you speak less than the opponent, you will have an advantage. But if the enemy decides to attack you with questions, don't despair and don't even stress. Keep calm and with the help of silence, give pauses between his question and your answer. So you intimidate the interrogator and give him more time to come up with a short and direct answer that will not compromise you and even give you the opportunity not to answer. And if you decide not to answer, be silent and focus on the look of the person asking. Because most people can't stand to be looked at, and probably the person asking you will be intimidated by your look. This is one of the great powers of silence, since you're not there saying nothing, but at the same time he will be sending a message to the one who expects an answer from him. This is because silence is intimidating, and not only that, silence can be interesting, mysterious, and so on. There are different effects that the individual in silence can cause. That's why I said silence must be strategic together with calmness, because if you despair and lose that calm you will talk nonsense or you will use silence in the wrong way, because there are moments to remain silent, but in others it is crucial to speak, and then if you remain silent at the moment when you should speak, you end up giving an image that you are shy or that you do not have the capacity to answer a question. But how will I know which question to answer? Answer the non-committal ones that are essential and drop the answer, or change the subject, or just say something short without committing when a question is clearly out of pure curiosity, a question not worth answering. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please leave that like and share with your allies, and if you are not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe there. After all, it helps a lot and it costs nothing too. Thank you very much for all your attention and see you later.